Welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. I'm Greg Norman, your host. We're putting together a bit of an abbreviated version of the show this week because we're kind of in the middle of the Chicago Yacht Club, Chicago to Mackinac race that's just finishing up with some of the boats coming in here on Tuesday afternoon, all the way in Mackinac. And then we're going to take a look at what's going on this coming Friday with a big party in Port Huron to get ready for Saturday's Bayview's Port Huron to Mackinac race. So we thought we would check in with Port Huron Yacht Club Commodore John Anter, talk a little bit about what's going on in Port Huron and in relationship to the Blue Water Festival, the size of it, the scope, give you an idea of what to expect for boat night this coming Friday. And then we're also going to check in with Bayview's race director, in this case, Greg Thomas. Greg is going to tell us a little bit about sort of last minute thoughts and ideas about the race and anything that might give you an insight to what's coming to what hopefully will be a good race. The Chicago to Mac race, a bit slow, but hopefully at the end of this week, we're going to get some interviews while we're up in Port Huron, talk to some of the folks, including the Eagle winner. So hopefully we'll get to that. Last week, we had a chance to interview Tim Profit, who had a choice, an opportunity to race his boat in the Chicago to Mac, and it had been hit by lightning some previous weeks before. We kind of here to report that he took a second place, and should give him certainly a big pat on the back because that's a lot of sailing over the last week and a half. So congratulations to Tim. Up next is John Ander from the Port Huron Yacht Club, and we hope you enjoy the show. We're lucky enough to have with us the Port Huron Yacht Club Commodore, John Anter, and John's going to talk a little bit about hosting the Bayview's Port Huron to Mackinac race, which is coming up on Saturday. We're just kind of coming off on the tails ends of the Chicago to Mac race. And first of all, John, I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I guess my first question is, you guys are the host, and that's probably, I understand that getting the race, getting it off the ground is important, but you're kind of party central on Friday. And what goes into the program for you as a club when you're hosting it for another club? And you guys have been doing this since 1925, which I think is remarkable.
Yeah, it's, we have the party is at our club, which everybody knows, being the, I wouldn't really say we're the host club. We're not hosting the party for Bayview. The party just happens at our club. It's, totally separate really. But yeah, we have the tent set up, and then we have bands come in on Thursday night. We have one of our couple local bands that are the, biggest local bands in the area, draw a good crowd. So we'll have the beer tent and the bar set up, and the bands on Thursday and Friday. And on Wednesday night, it's also open to the public, the club. On Saturday morning, as the boats are leaving. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, on Saturday morning, with bagpipers on the deck, which is one of my favorite parts, with the, piping the boats out. And we do Bloody Marys on the deck and the bagpipers. And our whole club is all volunteers. We have no paid staff. So everybody that's working is a volunteer. So we put this whole thing on with just the members.
How many volunteers are working this coming weekend?
Oh, hundreds probably. Half the club will be working.
Okay.
So
how many members at Port Huron?
Like 375.
Okay.
I think we're at right now.
I'm just curious. How many slips do you have there at the club?
We have about 100 between. We have two properties. We have another property up the river farther that it's kind of our overflow, or the people that don't race. Some of them like to stay up there more. So, but yeah, and we're all our slips are pretty much full. We have a few open ones, but downtown, our main property, they're full.
The last couple of years as a vice and rear Commodore, I'm sure you had to do a lot more work than you do as a Commodore. And if that's not true, is this the year you get to maybe not be quite entangled in the minutia of the small detail? Or is your phone still ringing pretty crazily at this point?
It's still pretty crazy. At our club, the rear Commodore is in charge of the race program. Then the vice Commodore is in charge of the bar. So doing that last year with COVID was challenging. But we didn't have the big Mackinac party. So I'm helping out all I can this year because, coming back from the pandemic, normally the vice Commodore would have did everything and it would have been easier passing everything down. But now we're relying on Pam Wall, who was the last Commodore to throw on, put on the party.
Yeah.
So she's helping us a lot. And it's still a little crazy. After this weekend, the rest of the year should be smooth.
Now we should point out that the starting of the race is also coincides with the Blue Water Festival in Port Huron. So it's a whole community event. Talk a little bit about what's on tap for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I know there's some activities on all 3 nights.
As far as in the city, I'm not really. I know they have the radio station is sponsoring something too. They have some bands playing, but the city isn't doing the whole Blue Water Fest like they normally do. There's not going to be the carnival set up.
Okay.
They're not going to have beer tents out on the streets like they did.
Okay.
So we're going to be the only beer tent in town.
Okay.
So I'm assuming we'll be pretty busy. And
is it the club's biggest fundraiser, I would think?
Yes, it is. Yes.
This year, probably more than in past with being the only beer tent.
Yeah. And I mean, people are, ready to get out, it appears. So
yeah,
we'll see.
What's this week? What's the single biggest sort of aspect that you're dealing with? Is it people asking for favors? Just curious as to what takes up your time this week as we closer to the takeoff on Saturday.
Yeah, it's definitely people asking for favors. A lot of boats want to come in and we only have so much room. So we try to, if it's a Commodore from another club, they're going to, I'm going to get them in. But this year, there's only been one ball that we've been to, so I've hardly met any Commodores. So the only Commodore that has asked for a slip is Fast Tango, the DRYA Commodore, Mr. Prophet. So
yeah.
That's the only other Commodore that I know is coming in. But yeah, there's a lot of boats from, Bayview ask all over, they ask, and we fit in what we can, and we have a cocktail party for the members on Friday night. And then, there's a lot of people that, hey, can I get my friend in and that, but it's like, no, it's for the members, so.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of that. And then we sell tickets. Tickets are $8 for Friday night to get in. Thursday night, you don't need a ticket. And then they're $15 at the door. So we have, people there all day, every day selling tickets in advance. Public stops down and buys the tickets.
Are you racing this year?
Yes. I race on the J105, good looking. I've done all my Mackinacs on that boat. And we've done pretty well. We won in 17, our class, and we've had 4 seconds before that. So, and it's the skipper to boat. This is his old goat year. So hopefully we win again.
Okay. Here's hoping that the weather and Mother Nature are nicer to Lake Huron than what's been going on in Lake Michigan over the last 4 days.
Yeah.
It's been there's still boats out there. Believe it or not, this is Monday night. It's crazy.
Yeah. I've only done one Chicago to Mackinac. And that was again on the 105.
A couple of inside baseball questions. Now, there's 182 boats registered at this point for the race coming up. That's about 40 boats short of what they would typically be at 220 as an average. And part of that obviously has to be, I would think, contributed to the Canadian water and not being able to come across. What's the hierarchy for either getting a slip or rafting? And is it who you know? Is it how you know? I'm just curious. Is it, if I were a first-year guy, how I would find a place to stay. So,
on the island or in Port Huron?
No, in Port Huron before we come up. Because there's a lot of folks that have already dropped their boats off this week.
Yeah, it's at Port Huron Yacht Club every year. It's the Commodore. It's whoever he allows in. The Commodore has to say of the harbor. But the city docks will take, everybody, anybody that's registered for the race. I think Bayview has a deal with the city, and they can raft off, and we raft off. So I don't know how the city, I know Mike Davenport's the harbor master, and he does a great job. So everybody has a spot. Now, getting a spot on the island's a little different this year. Right. Like, our boat didn't even get a spot on the island. Here, my Commodore year, and I don't have a spot on the island. So,
well, last year we caught up with a lot of boats at Harbor Springs and a lot of boats at Bay Harbor because you couldn't stay. So they just kept going because they, especially on the 52s, they were all over that way because they were going to do the Manitou 500 as a replacement for the Chicago to Mac race. So we caught up with them there. But this year it's kind of getting back to normal. I think that's part of that process, which I think makes some sense.
Yeah, I don't know why, if the restrictions are lifted, they're not letting the boats raft, but well, it's up to the harbor.
Yeah. What's the best part of Saturday morning when you finally get a chance to get on the boat and find your way out to Black River and then out to the lake, so you can kind of take a deep breath knowing that the phone's not going to ring?
Yeah, this year it's going to be a lot different. I'm already looking forward to getting on. I always look forward to getting on the boat Saturday morning, but this year the party's going to be over. All the major commitments are done. Hopefully it's a success. But yeah, once I get on the boat, then nobody can reach me for a couple of days, and everything will be good.
What's it like being a Commodore in a post-pandemic world? And I've asked that of a couple of different Commodores, and it's been interesting the answers that we've been given.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. I was glad, like, I'm vaccinated, and a lot of our members are, and I know all of our members aren't. But it was tough when you had the mask restriction, which I supported, but having to tell people that came in without a mask on, you need to wear your mask. It's like, we don't have any special rules. It's the same rule everywhere in the state. You should know it. And the people that wanted to argue with you or something, it's like, I'm not making the rules up, but I'm in the position where I have to enforce them.
Right.
So it's been challenging. And especially, last year's Commodores and this year's, you go through all the work and not really having all the fun that you think you're going to have on your Commodore year.
Do you feel cheated?
No. It's
just the circumstances.
There's a lot of I know about 5 people that died from the virus. So
yeah.
They got cheated, not me.
No, and I don't mean it that way.
Right.
I don't mean it. My point is you spend all this time working as a volunteer to have your pinnacle year of where you can really enjoy it and leave a legacy behind. And then obviously this once in a lifetime epidemic comes through, and it kind of throws a wrench into all kinds of things. That's what it knows.
The thing that I'm missing is some of the the older past Commodores I know, like Jamie Shinsky, the guy that taught me how to sail. He'll see somebody and be talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, we were Commodores the same year." Well, we're not making all those connections, and hopefully by the end of summer and the fall, there's going to be some balls. So hopefully we will make those connections, because I know people that have made lifelong friends by people, that have been the same Commodore class as them.
Is Port Huron Yacht Club sail only, or is it combination?
We're a sailboat racing club. We have power boats there. And we have more now than we had in the past, but our mission statement is to promote sailboat racing and sailing for cruising. But you need power boats for race committee and things like that. So it's, they're welcome, but we're mostly sailboats.
What do you like about the Port Huron Yacht Club?
Well, I had a power boat when I joined. I had my power boat, and the guy that docked next to me kept going off and going sailing. So it's like, I want to go out with you sometime. So I went out, and I just kept coming back, and then I was never using my power boat. I was always crewing. So I sold my power boat and I bought a sailboat. And it's a family down there, the yacht club. It's because we're all volunteers. Everybody does everything. You get that camaraderie, together.
Yeah.
So
how long have you been a member?
I joined in 2007.
Okay.
Yep. I started sailing in 2004 and I joined in 2007.
So you're a relative newcomer to sail racing.
Yeah. But I was lucky. When I started sailing, it was Jamie Shinsky, Cal 25, and he used to have a boat called Loon Magic that did well in Mackinac. And I didn't know Jamie. That's just who the guy took me down and went sailing with. And everybody's saying like, oh, hey, yeah, he's one of the good ones, So I had a good teacher.
Are you from the Port Huron area?
Yes. Yep. I grew up, born and raised in Port Huron. Yep.
Hopefully that with the pandemic getting near and the opening the borders, we'll get by, like you say, when we get back to August, maybe by the end of August, Labor Day, we'll get back to a much more normal kind of existence. So
yeah, because we have a 2-day Windward Lure Regatta coming up, and we're kind of relying on the Canadian boats for that. So hopefully the border will be open by then. And our race program is a joint program usually with Sarnia Yacht Club, but the race course is in Sarnia. So right. We can't do that now. So we took some of the marks and they set them over on our side. So we're each doing our own thing right now.
One thing you can explain, and you probably better than anybody, there's been all kinds of conversations about the border. So when you're coming up the river and you've got that huge current under the bridge, where can you go on the Canadian side because it's a little easier to get up, or do you have to stay on the American side?
No, we go up the Canadian side still. I say you can navigate through as necessary. You just can't go into Canadian waters for recreation purposes. So once you kind of need to. There's that eddy over there on the Canadian side, and nobody's ever had a problem going up there on the Canadian side. But once you get out to the lake, you got to peel off and go to the American side.
Are you surprised? Well, that's like you guys have been hosting this since 1925. The Port Huron Yacht Club was actually had admission into what was essentially DYRA in the Interlakes IOIA in 24, and you guys picked it up. It's hard to believe that this is, I think, 95th, 96th year you've been hosting it. That's an amazing record.
Yeah, and I think let's see, this is our 97th or our 100th anniversary is going to be coming up real soon.
25.
Yeah.
So 90. This would be the 96th year, right?
So, yeah, because I know our next rear Commodore, I think, will be Commodore for our 100th anniversary. That'll be the 100th anniversary of Mackinac. Our 100th anniversary is our rear Commodore right now is going to be Commodore for our 100th anniversary of the club.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate so much taking the time and kind of influencing what's going on and everything with in Port Huron, and kind of giving our viewers a chance to kind of catch up and see. So I appreciate so much your time and thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. And if you make it up to Port Huron Yacht Club, look me up and I'll buy you a beer.
That was Commodore John Anter from the Port Huron Yacht Club, kind of giving us an insight of what's going on in Port Huron this coming weekend. And we want to talk to next to Greg Thomas, who's the Bayview Commodore and former Commodore and race director for this coming race. And Greg's going to give us a little insight on what's been going on with Bayview. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a second. Welcome back. We're talking with Greg Thomas, who is the Bayview Yacht Club's race director for the Port Huron and Mackinac, which is coming up this weekend. And Greg, really simple question to start with. I'm not saying you're pulling your hair out at this point, but walk us through the next 3 or 4 days and kind of give somebody's coming to Port Huron what the timeline is.
Well, a lot of the boats are already there. There's quite a few boats that prefer to go up the weekend before, then they don't have to interrupt their business week more than necessary. There's another group of boats that'll show up Wednesday, Thursday. They're all there by Friday. Nobody shows up Saturday morning. The boats will start stacking up like cordwood in the Black River up there as the wells go soon, and then everybody starts rafting, and we all show up, 8 or 9 o'clock Saturday morning and get ready to go.
What's the interaction? I mean, talk to me a little bit about the interaction between Bayview and Port Huron. They're hosting, but you're running the race, which has been a traditional thing for as long as it's been around. What kind of work do you have to work with those guys?
Well, I mean, they're sailors, and they are quintessentially a sailboat racing club, just like we are. So we speak the same language. We think the same things. We do the same things. They love the race every bit as much as we do. And, we need a physical presence up there in Port Huron, and they supply it to us. They're our best friends, really, when it comes to putting on this race.
As of today, which is Monday, you have 182 boats registered, if I'm not mistaken?
That sounds about right. I don't check every day, but that sounds pretty close.
Typically, you're in the 220 range, 225 range, so there's been a little bit of setback from the numbers, but at least you're better than 105 from last year, so it seems like it's coming back.
Yeah, it's definitely better, and I think what this was to be expected, that it would be better than last year, but not as good as usual. Canada's still closed. We have a lot of Canadian competitors that weren't able to make it this year. Our race is second, and when your race is second, you have less people from the other side coming over to the Chicago side because they just got to go up and down the lake so many times to do both races. So it's a little bit lighter on that side. And we still have COVID going on, and the world's a strange place right now. And I think that's because some people just sit back and watch what's going on.
Have you looked at the weather report at all for the weekend?
Not in any real fashion. It's if you believe a weekend weather report on a Monday, you're a fool. So, I look at it just for entertainment purposes, but I don't really think much of it. As we get into Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have a much better picture of what's going on.
I asked the question because there's still boats pulling into Port Huron as we speak, or excuse me, to Mackinac as we speak, because the Chicago race is still going on. They've had literally no wind at all.
It's there's a sailing term for no wind, and we say it's gar, and it's gar on Lake Michigan right now.
Hopefully the gods will, whoever blows that, whether Mother Nature or anybody else, hopefully they'll pick up and have a little more opportunity to race. It's brutal over there if you see some of the still shots from basically 2.5, 3 knots sitting in the middle of the.
Oh, they're just it's going slow, and I have some good friends that are on small boats over there, and they're not even halfway there yet. Here are Monday afternoon.
We had a chance to talk to Tim Profit, who's a Bayview guy, and with all of the lightning and all the stuff we talked about last week, he had to take his boat all the way across. Some of the stuff was literally put together with duct tape, and he's got to come all the way back down to Port Huron to race as a number of those boats do. It's crazy. I mean, it'll be interesting to come Friday, but we'll talk briefly. Is there going to be a normal Friday night boat night in Port Huron as there has been in the past?
Well, that's the way I understand it. They call that the Blue Water Festival, and then Friday night itself is boat night, and that's run by the city of Port Huron. And they took last year off for obvious reasons, and then nobody knew what was going to happen here. So come springtime, it was, well, will they or won't they? And they've decided they're having their Blue Water Festival, and Port Huron Yacht Club's having their famed Friday night party. And I think people want to get out of the house. I think there'll be a lot of people up there for that.
I think it's going to be a little more than normal because everything we've seen, it's just crowded no matter where you go, restaurants and I think just folks getting out of the house.
Yep.
Typically, Bayview sells T-shirts and those kinds of things at Bayview at the club prior to the race. Is that going to happen this year?
Well, no, those are all available online. So if you go to byc.com, there's a link there for our store, and you can order anything you want, and they get it to you real quick.
So there's no tent or anything at Bayview this year, just to be clear.
No tent. I mean, we barely have a clubhouse. They're just finishing up our clubhouse. So we've had that challenge going on too.
If the Canadians could have been a little quicker, they're talking about opening the borders on the 9th of August. That seems to be the date that they're throwing around in the papers and on CNN today. So that would have been nice to have been a couple of weeks earlier.
It would have been nice, but the truth be known is it's not like we walk up on their beaches and stroll around. We're miles offshore when we're going in Canadian waters. So
you just can't afford to take the chance of going over the line and getting picked up and losing your boat. And
I
believe that there was a potential for a $250,000 fine if you got over the line and went over the border. That's what.
Well, they could take your boat and keep it, I suppose. I mean, they're the boss over there. They could do it. I'm not going over that line. I could tell you that.
Are you racing coming Friday or coming Saturday?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay. And then the last question for you, two questions actually. One, the first boat across the Chicago Mac was a Bayview guy on Eagle One.
Eagle One, yeah.
Eagle One, and his name is
Tim LaRiviere. Commodore LaRiviere.
Is he also in this race?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
For sure. Yeah.
So he'll be coming down. I guess the last question is a really simple one. You sort of, what's the last, what gives you a headache between now and Friday? I mean, what is it that you have to really pay attention to over the next 3 or 4 days?
Nothing except getting it done. I mean, there's, getting your bag packed, getting the food on board, getting the ice that you need, getting the boat to Port Huron, fueling her up. All that stuff, it just keeps coming at you. It never stops. It's all easy. We've all done it 100 times before, but you just got to do it.
When the gun goes, then it's sort of, you can take a deep breath and just enjoy the sailing.
Well, I'm telling you exactly when it happens is when you pull out of the Black River in Port Huron and you get into the St. Clair River. That moment, you just feel like you're on vacation because everything else is behind you. Now you're just going for a boat ride.
Right. How often, and again, how often has the phone been ringing? I mean, somebody like me asking me for 10 minutes for an interview. How often has the phone been ringing the last couple of days? I'm sure it's been pretty busy.
Nonstop. but more emails. Everybody likes to email and text nowadays, so the phone doesn't ring as hard as it used to. But I'm getting e-bombs.
I appreciate your time. I don't want to keep you long. Fortunately, this is the third time as a chairman for you in the race, so they've got at least a seasoned veteran. So sail well, and I appreciate your time today.
It's my last time too, Greg. Just so you know.
Okay. Is that right? Can we print that?
You can go to press.
Okay. Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank
Hopefully
you, Greg. Nice to hear from you.
We'll see you up there Friday night.
Great.